If you felt over the past few days that something feels off, like old things just don't excite you the way they used to. Old people don't feel as connected anymore, and there's a strange sense of calm coming from within that you can't quite explain. Stop right there. This isn't a coincidence. This is your quantum shift, and it has already begun. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly where you're really heading. Part 1. The very first sign that shows you're shifting is so small that most people ignore it completely. But if this is happening to you, know this: your old version has already been left behind. When we shift our identity, the first thing that changes is our energy. Not our thoughts, not our feelings, but the frequency we naturally give off. You may have noticed that some people who used to pull you in strongly no longer have that same magnetic effect. Some places that once felt comfortable now feel oddly mismatched. This happens because your energetic frequency has already moved on. But your physical reality is still reflecting the old frequency. This gap is the very first sign. And this gap doesn't stop at people. You'll feel it in your daily routine too. Things that excited you yesterday suddenly feel boring today. Conversations that used to feel interesting no longer have that same depth. Many people at this stage start questioning themselves. What's happening to me? Why am I changing? But the truth is, you're not changing, you're aligning. Anything that doesn't match your new frequency naturally starts to lose its pull. It's exactly like an old jacket that once fit perfectly, but suddenly feels tight. The jacket didn't change, you did. In the same way, many people start feeling this disconnect in their career, their daily habits, even in the atmosphere of their own home. This discomfort isn't wrong. It's a sign that the shift has already begun internally, and the outer world just needs time to catch up. Some people, confused by this phase, start blaming themselves, thinking maybe they're being ungrateful or overthinking everything. But if you're watching this video too, understand this. This isn't mental confusion. It's a recognized quantum phase that you're meant to move through. The more you resist this gap, the more uncomfortable it will feel. But the more you accept it, yes, I am changing, and this is normal, the faster this phase will smooth itself out. Part 2. But this is only the beginning. The real shift happens when even your memories start to feel different. Yes, your own memories. Many people say, whenever I recall a moment from my old life, it feels like it belonged to someone else. This isn't ordinary. It's a quantum indicator. When we shift realities, we are literally moving into a different timeline, and in this process, our relationship with our old identity changes too. You're no longer the same person who lived through those experiences. That's why, when you look at old photos or read old messages, you feel a kind of disconnect, as if you're watching your own old life as an outsider. This isn't discomfort. It's evidence that you have already shifted into a new version of yourself, and your brain is simply still catching up with processing this new reality. This phenomenon isn't limited to photos or messages either. Many people report that even their old arguments, old fears, and even old heartbreaks now feel lighter, like scenes from a movie rather than something real. This happens because when identity shifts, the emotional charge attached to that identity slowly begins to fade too. Things that once kept you up at night now become just a fact with no feeling attached. It's exactly like rereading an old book that was once your favorite, but now its plot feels boring because you're no longer the same reader you once were. And there's another interesting side to this process. Some people even revisit their old life in dreams, as if the subconscious mind is finally processing and releasing those memories. If you're having dreams where you're in old places, meeting old people, but everything feels slightly off, this too is part of the same transition. Your subconscious is literally closing old files to make room for your new identity. This process can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because until the old identity is fully released, the new identity can't be fully installed. Part 3. If you feel like life is moving in slow motion, or your sense of time has become strange. This is the third and a very powerful sign, one that only 3% of people ever recognize. A change in time perception points to the fact that you're standing on a threshold between two realities, what we call a liminal space. This is the place where the old reality hasn't fully ended and the new reality hasn't fully begun. That's why some days feel unbearably long and others pass by in what feels like a single moment. Some people also start experiencing more déjà vu, as if they already knew what the next moment would bring. All of this is a sign that your consciousness is simultaneously accessing both realities. The old one that's fading and the new one that's becoming more solid with every passing day. The more you understand this process, the faster this shift completes itself. Within this liminal space, there's another thing that very few people connect to it. Your sleep patterns change. Some people suddenly start sleeping very deeply, as if their nervous system is finally resting, as if they're recharging after years. On the other hand, some people suddenly wake up in the middle of the night, often between 3 and 4 a.m., with no clear reason, feeling strangely alert, as if something is shifting while the world sleeps. Both patterns are normal because they're part of this liminal phase where your energy system is recalibrating itself. During this same phase, many people also start perceiving their surroundings differently. Colors feel more vibrant, sounds feel clearer, as if all 5 senses are being upgraded. This happens because you've already started operating on a new frequency, and your perception expands along with that frequency. For those who understand this phase and consciously observe it, it becomes an exciting confirmation. But for those who ignore or resist this phase, it remains confusing and exhausting. The only difference is one thing: awareness. Part 4. What I'm about to tell you next might feel a little uncomfortable, but it's the most essential sign of all, and if this is happening to you, know that you've already crossed the point of no return. You may start feeling a silent grief for the people, places, and things of your old life. Without any clear reason, you don't miss them, and yet a certain heaviness lingers. This grief happens because, on a deep level, your soul knows you are leaving those things behind, even if your conscious mind hasn't fully accepted it yet. This is the exact moment when many people get scared and try to go back to their old reality, picking up old patterns, old thinking, old habits again, hoping that normal will somehow return. But for those who understand this discomfort and keep moving forward, this becomes the very turning point where their new identity begins to permanently solidify. Grief here isn't an ending, it's a doorway. This grief shows up in many forms. Sometimes it arrives as a sudden sadness when you're alone, with no trigger at all. Sometimes it rises unexpectedly in the middle of an otherwise great day. Everything is going fine, and then suddenly a moment comes where your eyes well up, and even you don't know why. This happens because you're not just leaving behind a lifestyle. You're releasing an entire identity, a whole version of yourself that the world once knew. And just as letting go of any relationship brings pain, letting go of your old identity brings its own kind of grief too, even if that identity wasn't making you happy. Many spiritual teachers call this stage the dark night. Not because something bad is happening, but because the old light, your old identity, has already gone out, and the new light, your new identity, hasn't fully lit up yet. It's this in-between darkness that scares people the most. But if you're watching this video and relating to this grief, that's actually a good sign, because it means you're already moving through this dark night, and anyone who goes through this phase always comes out the other side. Part 5. And now, the final and deepest sign, one that very few people ever share with anyone, because it sounds so strange to hear that people are afraid to even talk about it. You'll start noticing synchronicities appearing around you that never happened before. The same numbers repeating over and over, things you were thinking about suddenly showing up, meeting the right people at the strangest of times. as if the universe itself is confirming, yes, you're heading in the right direction. In the language of quantum physics, when your observation and your belief system shift, the reality you observe shifts along with it. You're literally tuning into a different, probable reality. And these synchronicities are proof of your alignment with that new timeline. The more you notice them, the faster and more clearly this shift will continue to unfold. These synchronicities slowly start showing their own pattern too. You might keep seeing numbers like 1111, 222, or 333 again and again. Someone you haven't thought about in years might suddenly appear in your dreams, or their post might show up on social media out of nowhere. The book, the video, or the idea you needed might reach you through someone at exactly the right time. None of this is random. On a quantum level, when our inner frequency shifts, we start attracting the same information and opportunities from our surroundings that resonate with our new identity. It's exactly like tuning into a new radio station, and now only hearing the songs that play on that station. What's interesting is that the more you notice and acknowledge these signs, the faster they start to multiply. This happens because attention itself is a quantum tool. Reality expands wherever your focus goes. That's why people who journal their synchronicities start noticing this pattern even more clearly. And here's the most interesting part. What happens after this sign begins? No one has ever explained it in this much detail before. Part 6. Now, the phase that begins after this, we call it the static zone. And if you're going through it right now, this video was made exactly for you. The static zone is the time when the old reality hasn't completely faded yet, but the new reality hasn't fully materialized either. Most people misunderstand this in-between phase. They think nothing is working or the shift has stopped. But the truth is, this is actually the most crucial phase of all. It's exactly like tuning a radio from one station to another. There's static in between. The signal isn't clear, but that doesn't mean the transition isn't happening. Similarly, in this phase, your emotions can feel unpredictable. Sometimes excitement, sometimes confusion, sometimes a strange emptiness. This is where most people give up, because they think something is going wrong. But for those who stay patient, this static zone becomes the strongest foundation of their new identity, because it's in this exact phase that old conditioning finally dissolves. The hardest part of this phase is that, from the outside, nothing seems to be changing at all. Your job is the same, your home is the same, your relationships are the same, but everything feels different on the inside. This invisible transformation is exactly what creates the most frustration, because people feel that if they're really shifting, they should get some kind of proof, some external change they can see. But the rule of a quantum shift is this: inner reality always changes before outer reality does. The foundation is built first, the building comes up later. And the process of building a foundation is always invisible. No foundation of any building ever looks glamorous, but no building can stand without one. While living through this static zone, there are also some practical signs people notice. Motivation coming and going like waves, feeling extremely productive one moment and completely low energy the next. Feeling crystal clear about your goals one day and completely confused the next. All of this is normal. This phase is an in-between state, and in-between states always feel unstable, just like a pendulum swings on both sides before finally settling into its final position. You too are currently settling into a final identity, and this swinging feeling is simply a natural part of that process. Part 7. And when the static zone starts coming to an end, something happens that very few people know about in advance. And because of that, they end up making the wrong decision out of fear. We call this phase the mirror test. Here, the universe literally puts you to the test. The same old situations, the same old triggers, the same old people show up again, but in a new form. This happens so it can be seen whether you have truly shifted into your new version, or whether you're just pretending on the surface. If you react the same old way, panicking, falling back into old patterns, the universe understands that the shift isn't complete yet and the same cycle repeats itself. But if this time you respond differently, calm, detached, in line with your new identity, that becomes the exact moment when the old reality starts permanently fading away. This mirror test is what decides whether you'll lock in to your new reality or fall back into the loop of your old one. That's why people who go through this phase without this knowledge keep repeating the same cycle over and over, never understanding what the real test actually was. The mirror test shows up in many forms. Sometimes it's an old toxic relationship that suddenly reaches out again. Sometimes it's a financial situation that feels exactly like the one you already escaped from. Sometimes it's just a small moment, someone saying the same old thing that used to trigger you. In all of these, there's one common thread. The universe presents you with the same scenario again, but this time, the question isn't, what is the situation? The question is, who are you when this situation shows up again? This test is necessary because simply thinking that we've changed isn't enough. Until a belief or identity is tested in a real-life situation, it remains just an idea, not a lived experience. That's why the mirror test can also be called a graduation exam. It confirms whether what you've learned inside is actually being applied on the outside. For those who respond calmly to this test, not panicking, not forcing anything, just naturally reacting as their new identity, that same old situation never comes back again. Because once a test is passed, the universe doesn't need to give it again. Part 8. And now, the final point, and perhaps the most important one of all. Because without it, this entire shift can never become permanent. Once you pass the mirror test, the phase that begins is what we call full integration. This is the stage where your new identity is no longer just something you feel. It becomes your new normal. You no longer get emotional recalling your old reality. You no longer react to old triggers, and most importantly, you no longer need to try to manifest your new reality, because it has simply become your natural state. But here's an important point that's rarely explained. Full integration doesn't happen on its own. It happens for the person who consciously aligns their thoughts, their energy, and their environment every day through small, consistent steps. Those who simply wait for the shift to happen automatically end up stuck between the static zone and the mirror test, never completing the process. But for those who apply this knowledge, full integration stops being just a possibility. It becomes their lived reality. The biggest sign of full integration is that you no longer feel the need to prove your new identity. Not to yourself, not to anyone else. Things that once took effort. Staying positive, setting boundaries, recognizing your own worth, now feel completely natural, like breathing. Your decisions change too, not because you're trying to make better choices, but because your old choices simply no longer make sense for who you've become. It's exactly like someone who used to smoke cigarettes. One day, without any struggle, they look at that cigarette and feel no pull toward it at all. Not because they're resisting it, but because they themselves have changed. And the most beautiful part of this stage is